I'm working at Manulife as an Android engineer and Google developer expert for Android, and occasionally write articles about Kotlin and Android on Medium. And in today's talk, I will talk about the title is a little bit misleading here because when I finished my talk, I found that it's it's not like a gotchas. It's more like a nullability for generics. So I will cover the how the nullability we should handle the nullability in generics, and what's the upper bound, and how I found this issue and how we can fix it. So this is the very basic diagram that I took from the KT Academy. So I provided the image reference there. So as we see here, we have two main the super types, like the any and the any, like the nullable. So whenever we create our own types, for example, in here we have customer. So whenever we create some sort of types, there is it has a two variants, like one is nullable and one is non-nullable. So that applies to the all predefined types as well as the custom types. So so for the generics, this is basically when we want to extend that existing type system so that we can operate on different objects. And in case of how we use it, most of the time when we are using the built-in systems like lists or arrays, they are basically like the generic types. So we can basically create a list of customers, list of any custom defined types or the predefined types. So this is the basic syntax, how we can create our own some sort of here I'm creating the list which is of generic type, and then how we can create a generic method. So there is a concept of a upper bound in Kotlin. So I didn't know about that one, and when I was we are in the issue when our app is crashing at some point, and then I figure out this, I found that there is an upper bound on generic types. So as you know, if we want to create a nullable types in Kotlin, we say we add the question mark at the end of the type. So I thought that is same applying for the generics. But when I try to say t as a question mark, which is the second line which is commented here, if I remove the any from there and I try to directly add the question mark to t, it's not allowed in Kotlin. So that was the issue, and then I was why it's not like the regular types when we define a strings or any type as a nullable, why I cannot do that on the generics. So then I figure out that there is a the implicit upper bound for the generics. So that's the second line. So basically if I don't define any upper bound for my generics, it's basically a nullable. So that's the second line, which is any with question mark. And then basically just this interface, this is generic interface. I have two methods. So I'm here sharing the same code that I was actually code into when we detected the crash in our application. So the issue is basically we are using the third-party SDK, and they have they migrated to the new version. So what they did is the APIs that they are exposing to the clients, for example for us, they migrated those APIs to the Kotlin, but internally they are still using Java. So they have a class called a listener utility that they are using to post the states on the auth listener using the onSuccess method here. So as it's Java, there is not any sort of a compile time null safety, right? So as you say that there is a t which is of generic type result, and I can post it on my auth listener, and it can be a null or it cannot be. So if you want it to be a non-null, you can use the annotation not null, that is the commented line here. So far so good, we didn't receive any sort of issues and we migrated. But the issue is when I have this interface, this is the interface that they are exposing to us, and I didn't know about that time there is a the default bound for Kotlin generics. So this is basically it can be a null or it cannot be. And when we try to post the this is the valid call listener utility dot on success, it gives the null, and then if you remember from the on success, it's basically just taking the result and processing that. And yeah, that's the basically issue, is like when it posts the null state to the on success, it went through all the way to the on success of the interface that we are implementing on our side. So yeah, that was the issue. And how we fix it is like basically SDK is still giving us the non-nullable type, like it can be null or not null. So that was the little finding from my side, is like to, if you want your generics to be non-nullable, then you need to like explicitly set the upper bound for your generics. And that's all about the slides. I can quickly show you the IntelliJ. I think the font size is good. So like as I mentioned, like you can define and you can use the annotations, and then it will be automatically highlighted in the IDE itself. So for example, here I can just annotate this as like a not null here. Oh, I'm doing it in the wrong place. And then the ID itself, like using some sort of a lint checks to make sure that you are not passing like the incorrect values to your values. So for example, I mark the, in my class I annotated that my results supposed not to be a not null, so just add the annotation which is not null. And then on the demo side, like when I try to pass the null, it will just give me the error. And same applies for the this interface in Kotlin. So if I just add the super type, and then it's like a compile time safety for us to like to make sure that it's not going to be a null at any point. And then other thing, or may I can say the last thing, is like basically about, like as you see, like in the declaration I cannot say like t with the question mark, but when I'm using it as a type, it's still allowed. So for example, in this case, this value can still be a nullable, so that's why I can still use it as like a type parameter as a nullable, but in the declaration it's not allowed. And if you want to be more clear, then you can just add your specifically like mention your upper bound on your generic types. And that I think more clear to the developers, because people like me, sometimes, or maybe like freshers, they are in a team and they are using generics, and they might feels like the T means it's like a non-nullable, and but at the end it's like basically a nullable. So yep, that's the little quick finding about the generics. So thank you. So if you have any question, feel free to ask.